Hi everybody. This video is going to provide you an overview of the plot graph, which we did not really get to go over in class, but it's part of our short story unit and should help us finish up this unit finally. And it has to do with the elements of a short story. And you've probably studied the plot graph lots in your past education. But there's a couple parts that students will often get tripped up on, and those are the parts that we're going to focus on the most right now. So I'm going to be sending you these two documents. I wrote some stuff out. You have the blank copy of this up there, which you can see. But I'm going to be sending you a copy of this and then one that applies to Alma, which is the little video that your assignment from this week is based on. Okay, so you will see the different parts of the short story here. And we're going to start with exposition down here in the corner. And remember that word, exposition? Inside of that word, you see the word expose. So what is exposed at the beginning of every good story, movie, novel, play, but the main parts that you need to know, the character, and you need to know the setting. So who's in the story, who are they, and where's all this going to take place. And then you'll see the situation here. So the situation is important if there's something particular happening that is important to the story. Like, is it the beginning of World War II or the end of World War II? If the characters are Jewish, are they people just finding out what's happening in the war and why they are at risk? Or is it at the end of the war when there's a group of Jewish people possibly hiding? So that makes a big difference to the story. Okay, so after the author provides the exposition, then something happens. A trigger happens. And I like to explain this like a gun goes off. Something that ignites the action. Or in other words, a trigger happens and then the action in the story takes off. So that's why this conflict is also called, you'll see over here, I've done a whole bunch of writing, it's called the trigger incident, right? And that happens after the exposition. And you can read over this, but the big thing that happens when the trigger incident happens is a question results. A question kind of pops out, and the reader or the viewer asks, I wonder if A is going to happen or B is going to happen. So you look at the protagonist and what is now the goal? What's the action? What does the character have to do to try and achieve that goal? And the question that develops from that is, will they achieve that goal? So on the way to achieving that goal, you have the rising action, right? And this is a bunch of obstacles that are put into place in a story to make the story interesting, right? The protagonist or your main character has to fight to reach their goal. So they have to go through a set of obstacles that generally get harder to overcome as the story continues until the point where the question still remains, will the protagonist reach their goal? Will they get what they want? And the moment you know whether they get what they want or they don't get what they want is the moment where your climax is happening. Okay, so it's the big moment when the big question is answered. Okay, it's usually the big turning point of the story. I've said big a lot. Anyway, after your climax, you come down and then things fall into place as a result. Sometimes people go to jail. Sometimes somebody's buried. Sometimes a relationship begins. Whatever it is, it's those loose ends are tied up, and we see those loose ends being tied up. And the resolution is, how is it all left in the end? And on top of that, what is suggested about the future? What do we assume as the audience or the reader What do we assume about the future of these characters or of the land or of the environment? What will happen down the road? So that is the overview that I'm giving you for that. And the theme, right? We've talked lots about this. I'm going to make another video about theme, but what message does that author or the playwright or the movie director, what message does that person want to leave with you? What do they want you to take away as the reader? And sometimes we need to pick away at the different messages to come up with that really big overall thematic statement. Okay, thanks for listening. I'm also going to be doing another video applying all of these things to the story of Alma, which will literally give you all the answers for your assignment. So I hope you found this useful.